Hey guys, Project Zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and I'm really excited for this video because this is a movie review of one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm not going to be going too in-depth with this. It's pretty late, and I do need to do another movie review right after this. Um, but this is a movie that I love a lot, and it means a lot to me because it's a movie that I just love. Like it's a story I just love, and it's a story and the movie and the character that I can relate to in so many ways. And it's also very special to me because it's one of those movies that me and my mom and my stepdad kind of like share that connection with. They grew up watching it, and like my mom in particular really loves Peter Pan. And as you guys know, this is my review of the 1953 Disney animated classic Peter Pan. Um, I'm actually really excited for the Peter Pan and Wendy movie to come out. I really hope they don't butcher it because, I mean, I don't hate the live action movies that Disney's been doing, like a lot of people do, but Peter Pan is one that is very special to me. So I'm just like, please don't screw this up. Because the last live action Peter Pan movie we got, that one was Pan, and it was fun, but there was so much missing in it. And yeah, so hopefully Peter Pan and Wendy is not going to be like that. But again, I'm not saying it was a terrible movie. I know a lot of people hated it. I at least had fun with it. But yeah, so I'm super excited for Peter Pan and Wendy. I showed my mom the trailer for it the other day, and she's super excited for it as well. So yeah, but I'll be doing a review for that later. With that said, I'm really excited for that movie, and right after I finish reviewing this, I'm going to be reviewing the live action 2003 movie because I saw them back to back, like one day after the other. And yeah, so I'm not going to be talking too much. Let's just go straight into it. Um, this movie is fantastic. The animation is amazing. The animation is fun. It's colorful. All the characters are just done so well. Like the Darling kids, like you can really see how individual they are. You can also see like how headstrong Wendy can be as well. Uh, Smee is one of the best characters in this movie, and he's just so funny. He just has so many funny lines. Captain Hook, I like him. He's very entertaining in this movie, except that my biggest complaint with Captain Hook in this movie is that they went way too much with the comedy aspect of Captain Hook. So they didn't really, how can I say this? So he doesn't feel intimidating. He literally feels like a clown, and you can definitely understand why Peter is always making fun of him. Um, then we got Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell was done perfectly. The Lost Boys, they're all fine. I never really thought too much about them in this movie in particular, but they're just fine. They're fun. They have a lot of good moments, and the Indians, a lot of people looking back, that was in 1953. That was a long time ago. So, looking at how people are more now perceptive of things, yeah, a lot of people might not want to show their kids this because of how the Indians are portrayed. Um, or even I shouldn't even really be saying that. I should be saying Native Americans. But yeah, so there's a lot of racial stereotypes with the Native Americans in that movie, and it can be a little insulting, and it can be a little like strange to see. Even when I was little, I'm like, okay, I don't really understand why they're calling them that when they're not that. Like even I used to question a couple of the things when I was really little. Uh, but here's the important part about this. If you're gonna be showing this to little kids, just explain it to them like, hey, this is not how it's supposed to be represented, and this was something from a very long time ago. They saw things a lot differently, and a lot of the things that they saw and portrayed wasn't accurate, and it wasn't really respectful. So, as I feel like as long as you're going to be showing this to kids and kind of giving them that warning if you're very sensitive about these kinds of things, I don't see an issue in showing the movie, you know? Because I feel like as time goes on, it's going to be like, very interesting to see how much we have changed looking at old movies like this and showing it to our kids and going like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't show this, but just because of this one thing, for me that doesn't make so much sense. I feel like it's important to have a conversation because people are supposed to learn. They're supposed to see how much we all have changed and how much, entertainment and representation has changed and become more authentic. So I think that it is still important to let kids understand how this was portrayed and how it's actually supposed to be portrayed. So that way they can see that, you know, it's not exactly what people say. And so that they can also see how far we have all come. So I do think that if you have that conversation with a kid, if you're very sensitive about it, and even if you're not sensitive about it, it's still something good to have a conversation with a little kid about. Um, but yeah, so there is a lot of things here that is surprising, like just like with the original animated Pinocchio movie from Disney, you see kids smoking, and which is surprising, but again, it's part of that conversation that you will have with kids when you're watching it with them. So I don't think that a lot of people need to be worried about showing this movie to little kids in now or in the future. But overall, I'm leaving Peter off to the side because I want to talk about him. I just want to get everything else kind of talked about. The music itself, honestly, I'm really grateful that there isn't such a huge musical part of this movie like there was for so many other Disney movies. And the reason I say that is because other than like one or two songs, the songs in this movie I also never really liked that much. So it's surprising to see, or it's actually cool to see that like my thoughts on that hasn't changed too much. Again, there's still like one or two songs that I really, really enjoy. Um, but yeah, a couple of them are that it kind of goes back into what I was just talking about. Like they're gonna be saying very specific words that you should not be saying anymore. So it's all about talking with kids about these things. But yeah, again, even when I was little, I didn't care so much about these songs. For me, it was always about the characters and the animation, the colors, and just the fantasy element of it. And I just love that so much. Um, and because this movie itself is very adventure filled, like it really does feel like you're going to a different world, like you're joining the Darling Kids and having fun with Peter and the Lost Boys and going on this little adventure. So I thought that that was really well done. Though one big complaint that I do have is that one, before I forget this one, how, and this is true for the live action 2003 movie as well. I never fully read the books, but or the book itself. I do own it though. I should probably read it. So I don't know how it was presented in the book, but the very start of the movie itself, Wendy is telling her brother's stories about Peter Pan and all of that. So in my mind, I'm like, how is it that you know about Peter and these stories and all these characters if you just met him for the first time? I kind of got it in the sense that like it was a legend that got passed down through time. So much so because it is kind of implied that Wendy's dad used to be a lost boy. Because when he sees a silhouette of Hook's ship flying in the sky at the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh wow, I think I've seen that ship before when I was really really little." So it is really implied that he might have been a lost boy, because it's also implied that Peter has had other lost boys and that they decided at one point to leave Neverland and, grow up. Um, so yeah, I think that's really implied. But so yeah, it's either implied that he is a lost or he was a lost boy, or it's implied that he went on an adventure in Neverland and decided not stay there. Um, so and maybe he passed that down, and other people did too. So I think that that's how that story came to be. It's like many people around London or the world knows about Peter, but for them, oh, they just think it's just a kid's story. A kid dreamt it or something, but no, it was real. Um, so I think that that's kind of where that came from. And so yeah, so I thought that that was really interesting because it's really implied in a lot of things in this particular movie. But from the little bit I know about like Peter's not like real world origins, because like how he was created or anything like that. I'm not talking about that, but like in universe origins, like they don't really touch on Peter's origins, um, which is something that the 2003 movie actually does, which I was really happy about. But yeah, I guess like in the books, Peter, it's hinted that he might even kill some of the Lost Boys. Like Peter is kind of wild in the books, from what I've heard. But yeah, it's not really shown things like that in this particular movie. But from what I understand, the movie itself did do a pretty good job at staying as true to the books as it could, with some changes. Again, I never read the book. I don't know the full story in the book. I just grew up with this movie and some of the plays as well. I actually do remember one time, I think I might have been sick, and I'm not sure, but my mom came home one day and she came home with a VHS tape of a Peter Pan a Peter Pan play. Um, and I remember like that day getting it and putting it on right away and watching it, and I really really liked it a lot. Um, so yeah, so I grew up just with the movies for Peter Pan, not necessarily the book. Even though I do own the book, I probably read maybe like 20 pages of it or something. I've had it for so many years now. But anyway, so yeah, it's just the animation was really well done. The music was meh. Um, and I do wish that they did address a couple of things. Um, and it also felt really rushed at the same time. But again, that is normal. The crocodile is amazing. Like, how can you forget the crocodile? The crocodile is it's just so funny. The crocodile and Captain Hook is, I don't know. I just it's golden. I love those two. Oh right, okay. One big complaint that I had that I was forgetting about, which I didn't forget about, but then when I went into what I was just talking about, I did forget about it, is that particular thing, the crocodile and Captain Hook. I feel like, other than it being a little rushed and all that stuff, one of my biggest complaints is that I don't really feel like there is like it's very exposition heavy. I don't think so. But I do think that there is that scene when Captain Hook is like, waking up and getting shaved by Smee, and he just goes on and just starts talking about how he lost his hand and the crocodile and all that, but that felt so forced. Like it just felt straight out hugely exposition, like we gotta kind of explain something, so let's just shove everything here. Um, so yeah, that is probably my biggest complaint. Um, I just thought that that could have been done so much better. Um, Also, another complaint is, um, actually no, not a complaint. Another topic that I want to touch on is I think that the mermaids was fantastic. Peter's attitudes with the mermaids was great, and I absolutely love the Native American party scene, and I really really wish that the live action 2003 movie had that as well. There is a Native American like ceremony, but when you kind of realize what it's for, it's kind of like, oh, that's cute, but like, okay. So I do wish that we did get the party element because we know they have a party after they heal the teddy bear. Um, and what we got on that after instead was super beautiful. Like it's one of my favorite scenes, which I will talk a lot about in my review for that movie. But I still wish we got the Native American party scene. Um, and yeah, just like the dynamic between Tiger Lily and Wendy, and like the rivalry between them, even though they're not like fighting against each other, they're just kind of like aware of each other and like just see each other, and you can tell that they're like with their own thoughts. Mostly Wendy, not really Tiger Lily. Also, Tiger Lily is a character that I never think about when I think about Peter Pan. I know so many people do, and yeah, I just don't know why. I just never really think about her, but yeah. So I still love that scene where Tiger Lily starts dancing with Peter, and like she goes in and starts like rubbing her nose with his, and he kind of like backs up into like the chief headpiece, and it's implied that she gives him a kiss. Because he comes out and his face is like super red, and then he just like gets super excited and all that. So, and then he really starts dancing with her, and so I love that. I really really wish that like the live action movie played with that a little bit more. But yeah, I really like that scene because again it shows how Wendy is and how she might be liking Peter as well. But that particular scene as well, I think is it still kind of holds true today because you see the old tribal chiefess, I think. I don't know who she was, but she was basically commanding and making Wendy do a lot of chores, and then everyone was kind of like treating her as if she was a maid and stuff, and she got fed up and she was like, no, I'm not going to be doing this, we're going now. And then like she stood up for herself. So I think that that is really really well done and something that holds strong today, even more, to be honest. um, so it was good that back then they did have that, even though they had a lot of wrong in that movie too. So at least they had something that was done pretty good, pretty right, I think. But yeah, it's just a movie that's straight out filled with magic, and I just wish that there was more to it. And the hideout, the Lost Boys hideout, I just love it so much, especially when they're like walking and then there's like a pond right above them, but they're underwater, and sorry, they're underground, and that pond is just kind of like floating there. I just loved it. Um, I personally do think that they could have done, um, they could have extended a couple of things a little bit more. And yeah, I do really enjoy the sequel, Return to Neverland, a lot. Like even the music in that one was so much better. But yeah, I just think that this movie itself was good. It was like amazing. It's fantastic. And there's really only, I guess, one last thing that I want to talk about, and that's, the overall story and Peter himself. Like I said, this is a story I can relate a lot to in so many ways, especially with Peter too. Um, let's just get some complaints out of the way first. I know that he's supposed to be a little bit arrogant and egotistical in a way, uh, but in this movie, he's still fun and laughing, and the sense of adventure. But he's just super ignorant, and it can be a little bit off-putting. And I know, and I like that because they did that on purpose. I just feel like the way that they handled it in the 2003 movie was done so much better and so much more realistic. Um, but yeah, so for this one, it seems like he doesn't have any heart or any care at all. He's just like very egotistical and um, wild in that way. So yeah, I do think it is something that could have been done differently, how they handled Peter. But Peter himself, other than that, everything else about him is really really cool. Like you get that sense of adventure, you get that sense of laid backness, that sense of youthfulness, and enjoyment of life and having fun and just wanting to enjoy things, and going on adventures. Like, you get that, and they did that so well, and I love that so much. So I'm really, really grateful that they kind of really got that essence down. And I also just really love that they kind of also make you feel like you're flying with him in a lot of cases. So again, this movie did so much right away, and it's definitely one of the best Disney movies ever made, in my opinion. Um, and again, I still think the live action one is like so much better, but I cannot say that it's a Disney movie because it's not. The live action one from 2003 was made by Universal. So, but this new one that's coming out right now, Peter Pan and Wendy, that one is made by Disney. It's a remake of this one, but it looks pretty different. So it's gonna be really interesting to see. But yeah, so they did a fantastic job in making you feel like you are with Peter and in Neverland as well. Um, and him just having fun and messing around and playing with Hook is just amazing. Um, but yeah, I also love just his outfit, his style, and I love that you get to see him playing the pan flute a little bit because again, I've said it many times on this channel before. I love wind instruments. Um, I don't think it came because of Peter Pan. I just love it in general, just like I love the piano in general. Um, so yeah, so the fact that he plays an instrument that I love and that you don't really see represented a lot is very special. So I really hope this new Disney live action movie has that. Um, but yeah, as for the pan flute itself, I mean, I like it. I love its design. It's iconic, but I prefer other wind instruments than the pan flute. But it's got a beautiful sound in general. You just can't really play it a lot. You're just blowing on a few notes. It's not like the ocarina where you're doing many different shapes to have different notes and different outcomes, and different sounds. So, but I'm sure that you can get some great sound to the pan flute. I just never really played with one too much to really see how like creative you can be with a pan flute. So, but yeah, and I'm really glad that Zelda Spirit Tracks used that as their instrument for that game, and that leads into the next thing. I just love seeing Peter and Tinkerbell. Like, they're just so iconic, and like, every time I see Peter, I'm like, that's Link from Ocarina of Time, Link from the Legends of the Ocarina of Time, because Link in general, his whole design was based on Peter Pan. And I think that that's one of the things that really gravitated me towards Zelda when I first played Ocarina of Time, because I think that that was my first Zelda game. And I still remember playing it and renting it for the first time. We went to like a Blockbusters, and we were just asking for the clerk if they had anything that was really good and like fantasy or like adventure kind of thing, or magical or something like that. It's something that like the guy think I could play, and he's like, well, yeah, we have this amazing game. It's been it's like people are always renting it. I don't really remember what they said. I don't. I'm just making up these words up right now. But the vague feeling of these words is that feeling that I had, that this is the kind of conversation of how it went. And then I literally remember getting home and like just looking at the cartridge and for the Nintendo 64, and I just was amazed. And I remember plugging it in, turning it on, and right away the Ocarina of Time title screen comes in, and I'm just in love right away. Um, it's very similar to what happened with me in Xenoblade in a way. But yeah, like that Ocarina of Time title screen is just it's so amazing. It's one of the best things in any video game in general. It's just so beautiful in so many ways. But then I remember like booting it up and just already being drawn to Link. And again, I can relate to Link a lot too. Um, and like just seeing his clothes, and then the Navi coming. Sorry, I said that like Navi as in Avatar. Navi. his fairy companion comes and joins him, and then I just remember like him walking around in the forest, which is all things I love, and I'm like, so yeah, I always kind of saw that resemblance between Peter Pan and The Legend of Zelda. So yeah, it was just something that was always special to me, and the fact, so like every time I see Peter and Tink, I think about Link from Ocarina of Time and Navi. um so yeah, it's just really special, and it's really nice. And it kind of shows things that I like in general. But yeah, so this movie itself is amazing. It's fun. There isn't much more I can say about it. Even the animation is fantastic. um but yeah, I really hope that Peter Pan and Wendy does not screw this up. Sorry. um I know that a lot of people are really worried about it because the color palette for Peter Pan and Wendy looks super dry and like gray for some reason. So a lot of people, and I agree with a lot of people. So I'm like, where's the color? This is supposed to be Neverland, but I'm not gonna be complaining too much about it. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a lot of color. It's just based off of trailers. So I'm not gonna be complaining about it. And even if we don't see a lot of color, I get the tone that they're going for. So I kind of accept it, and I kind of agree with it given the tone that they're going for. I just want there to be actual adventure. I just want there to be a youthfulness to it, a high, high octane kind of like feel to it, like a magical adventure, having fun, joking, playing around, because that is the essence of what makes Peter Pan Peter Pan. You can balance that with the realism and the grittiness of it, because again, Peter Pan is a little gritty when you think about it. um like there's this, at the most, 13-year-old kid fighting a pirate guy who's always trying to kill him, and other pirates are involved too, and then you got Native Americans involved, and there's like territorial differences, and then there's the fantasy element with the fairies and other magical creatures, and how everything clashes. Like, it sounds super fantasy, but there's some grittiness to it. And again, the live action 2003 movie, it balanced the fantasy element, the fun element, with the realistic and grittiness perfectly. And so did the Neverland miniseries. I love that one a lot too. So they balanced things with that pretty well as well. So, except that they went a little bit more on the more realistic side of things. So yeah, but for this new movie, I hope, I pray that it's going to balance it as good as the 2003 movie did. Um, so yeah, I don't care really for the color palette, because I'm pretty sure that they're gonna have fun with this movie. They have to. It's Peter Pan. How can you not have fun with this kind of story? So I'm sure we're gonna be seeing a lot of fun things with that. But alright, guys, I rambled on a lot more than I was hoping for this particular review. My review for the live action 2003 movie is gonna be this long, maybe an additional 10 minutes longer, because I do have a lot to say about that movie. Because for me, that is the perfect Peter Pan adaptation. Um, but yeah, so I do have complaints with it as well. But yeah, I was gonna record it right after this one, but I'm kind of tired right now, so I'll probably just do that tomorrow. It's the 17th. The new movie's not out for another 10 days, so I have time to put this up. But I'll definitely do it within the next few days as well. But let me know what you guys think about the original Disney 1953 Peter Pan movie. And what do you think about the 2003 movie? Did you guys watch Neverland? Did you like Pan? I'm not going to be reviewing Pan, I'm not going to be reviewing Neverland, and I'm not going to be reviewing Hook. Um, just because I am really busy up until the movie releases, so I gotta focus on a couple other things. Like, I'm finally started recording, or I finally recorded my 1 hour and something long audio for my review of Xenoblade 3, so I gotta be editing that. And yeah, and I got other projects I also gotta work on. So some of those projects, actually, yeah, a couple of those projects that I'm working on is actually going to be a very big project that I'm actually going to be releasing here on this channel. So I hope you guys watch that. It's not going to be very long, even though it's taken me a very long time to do this. So I'm really excited for that. It's almost done. It's basically done. Just working on a few other things on it, and I'll start teasing it on my social medias, particularly on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter in the description below. So yeah, definitely follow me there. And sorry that this video was so long. It wasn't supposed to be more than like 15 minutes long or something like that. But yeah, I'm really excited to review the live action 2003 movie. Hook is always a fun one. I do think it's slightly overrated, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. I only saw Pan once, and I've seen Neverland a few times, but I haven't seen it in a very long time either. I've mostly always just watched this movie, the 1953 movie or the 2003 movie. But yeah, those other ones are also great and fantastic in their own ways too, even Pan. So anyway, guys, let me know what your favorite Peter Pan adaptation or story is. And are you guys looking forward to Peter Pan and Wendy? I really hope you guys check out my review for the live action 2003 movie, because that movie is really special to me and I just got a lot to say for it. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys have a good night. Rate, come subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.